request by the City of Hudson to amend the comprehensive plan use designation from public to neighborhood commercial and to rezone the property at 911 4th Street from R1 one-family residential district to office district and public. The area includes the municipal building and the parking lot. The property is legally described as Outlot 84 and 89 and part of Outlot 87 in the City of Hudson, St. Croix County, Wisconsin. Is there anyone here who would like to make a comment on that rezoning? Pardon me, on that comprehensive land use designation and rezoning. Anyone here would like to comment? Last chance. Anyone who would like to comment on the proposed amendment to the comprehensive plan land use designation from public to neighborhood commercial and to rezone the property at 911 4th Street from R1 one-family residential district to office district and public?
Move to close the hearing.
There's a motion to close. Is there a second?
Second.
A second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. And that hearing is closed. Let's open the public hearing on the request by the City of Hudson to amend the zoning code sections 255-14K office district and 255-24 permitted uses upon approval of a conditional use permit to allow cafes/restaurants and retail shopping in the office district zoning classification for up to 15% of the total floor space of a building, but no drive-through facilities, and to establish criteria and conditions of approval. Is there anyone here who would like to comment on this item? Anyone here to comment on the request by the City of Hudson to amend the zoning code concerning our office district? Third time. Is there anyone here who would like to comment tonight on our request to amend the zoning code section 255-14K office district and 255-24 permitted uses?
Move to close the hearing.
Second.
Motion and a second to close the hearing. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. And that hearing is closed. And thirdly, we have a hearing on the proposed amendment to the comprehensive plan of the City of Hudson and to rezone properties to provide consistency between the comp plan and the zoning ordinance. And this pertains to three specific parcels. A, Beaneman Farm LLC, the southeast quadrant of Hanley Road and State Trunk Highway 35, to amend the comprehensive plan use designation from industrial to general commercial for 3 acres in the city and the adjacent 17 acres located to the east in the town of Troy. And B, Gafford Properties, north side of Cooley Road, east of 2nd Street, to amend the comp plan land use designation from general commercial to downtown commercial, and to rezone the property from R1 one-family residential district and R2 two-family residential district to B3 central business district. The parcel is legally described as Lot 1, Certified Survey Map, Volume 8, page 2313, City of Hudson, St. Croix County. And C, Tim and Betty Caruso, 27 Cooley Road, to amend the comprehensive plan from land use designation general commercial to downtown commercial, and to rezone the property from R2 two-family residential district to B3 central business district. This parcel is legally described as part of Outlot 206, as described in Volume 409, page 358, St. Croix County Register of Deeds, City of Hudson, St. Croix County. Let's take these one at a time. Is there anyone here who'd like to comment on the proposed change to Beaneman Farm LLC's property at the southeast quadrant of Hanley Road and State Trunk Highway 35? Yes, sir. Will you come up to the podium, Ray, and give us your name? Ray's the chairman of the town of Troy.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I appreciate the council's opportunity to give us a chance to input. My name is Ray Knapp. I live in the town of Troy at 521 Trillium Lane, and as Dean mentioned, I am the town chairman. I just want to bring a couple things, couple of comments to the council's attention in terms of concerns that the town may have about future use of that land. And not that I'm speaking against the action you might take, but just some concerns you might want to be aware of. First of all, the land abuts a rural residential area, and when Jack was the mayor and when Dean was the mayor, I think I've expressed to both of them a concern that we need to be sensitive to the type of commercial development that might be done in that area and the type of hours of operation they might have and the like, because it abuts right to rural residential properties. So I think that's one thing. Second, these are small strips of land, and they don't necessarily allow for the kind of setbacks and buffering that might have been done, for instance, in the industrial park as it abuts to Tower Road, where possibly the setbacks from residential and the town road may not be quite as easy to deal with. Second, on a longer term note, the town of Troy would like to start to have some conversation with the city about either some kind of a cooperative boundary agreement, or better talk about what our comp plan looks like and what your comp plan looks like, and our mutual goals for areas as they develop along the fringes of the city. So that's an important issue to us. And you also, I don't know if all of the city council is aware or not right now, but in our comprehensive plan, the only future commercial development that we have in our comp plan is the area directly north of River Falls along State Highway 35. It doesn't mean that we don't recognize that there could be other development pressures, but that's all that we have in our comp plan. The last issue that I just want to bring to the city's attention is right now the city does have the commercial park just south of this area, and at some point I think it would be the town's impression that if this area also becomes commercial and there's commercial pressure on it, that the city would accept responsibility for that portion of Old State Highway 35, because certainly if something goes into the existing platted commercial area there and this area gets developed, the highest wear and tear on that road will probably be from commercial traffic. And I'm sure you're also aware that there's going to be a fair amount of traffic now rerouted through this area, as if you've driven south on State Highway 35, you see that the Cooley intersection is closed, and there now will be a overpass at Cooley Trail. So there will be much more traffic now directed up Old Highway 35 from Troy residents who their only access to those of us, those people who live on the north end, will be directed up Old Highway 35, and they'll get onto the freeway at Hanley Road there. So that traffic pattern will start to grow as we get more development pressure, and of course as soon as that intersection is completely closed off. So those are just the comments I wanted to make. And again, I'm not necessarily speaking against the action you might take, but just more so want you to be aware of concerns that might exist. Thank you.
Thank you for coming, Ray. And both of those items are fairly early on our agenda tonight if you wish to stay. Anyone else here who would like to comment specifically on the first of the three for this hearing, which is Beaneman Farm LLC and the property in southeast quadrant of Hanley Road? No? One more time, anyone here who would like to comment on that part? All right, let's move on to Gaffer Properties, which is part B of this hearing. And this one is located on the north side of Cooley Road and east of 2nd Street to amend the comprehensive plan, change it from general commercial to downtown commercial, and rezone it from R1 to R2 to B3 Central Business District. So this parcel, the Gaffer property, would end up being Central Business District. Anyone here wants to comment on that one? Anyone here would like to comment on the proposed change to the Gaffer property? Okay, then let's go on to Tim and Betty Caruso, 27 Cooley Road. Very similar. We'd be changing the comp plan from general commercial to downtown commercial and changing the underlying zoning from R2 to B3 Central Business District. Anyone here want to comment on that? One more time. Okay. Last chance on any of these. Going once, going twice.
Move to close the hearing.
All right. Here's a motion to close the hearing. And a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Okay, so our public hearing's closed. Let's call to order our common council meeting for tonight, May 3rd. And first, if you'd all rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. Will you call the roll, please?
Mayor Knudsen?
Here.
District 1 Morset? Here. District 2 Yaku? Here. District 3 Bernard is excused. District 4 Wyland?
Here.
District 5 O'Malley?
Here.
District 6 Birchall?
Here.
Okay, so we've got 5 of us here. At this time, we take comments and suggestions from citizens present. If there's anyone here who would like to address the council on any item that's not on tonight's agenda, but that might have an impact on the city of Hudson or come before the council at a future date, this would be your chance to come up. Is there anyone here? Would it be you? Kim, come on up. And Andrea.
Good evening, everybody. How are you? My name is Kim Heineman. I work with the Chamber of Commerce and Tourism Bureau. And with me tonight is Andrea Jorgensen, who's our Director of Communications and Programs. And we'd like to just give you a little bit of an update as to our new event coming up May 14, 15, and 16, which is called the Yellowstone Trail Heritage Days. And so Andrea will give you a few specifics, but before we go further, I just would like to personally, on behalf of both of us and the office, thank you, the city, very much for helping us attain our Yellowstone Trail historic signage and helping us install those signs to mark this historic trail. In addition, I'd like to say publicly thank you to the Hudson Star-Observer for all the great press that they've been giving us with reference to this event. So without further ado then, Andrea, we'll switch and you can give a little bit of an update on some of the activities that will happen.
Good evening. Thank you all for letting me come and introduce myself, or Kim introducing me tonight. It's nice to see all the faces here. And I just wanted to let you know, if you don't already know, that Hudson is fortunate to be located on the historic Yellowstone Trail, which was in the early days, one of the very first transcontinental highways, if you would. And it began as a series of country roads that were connected and eventually connected end to end on each side of our continent. And we happen to be located right smack dab on it. So in the earlier days, the Yellowstone Trail was ran right across what we now call Dyke Road. And at that time, it was Toll Bridge Road. And as Kim mentioned, we're planning an event to celebrate the Hudson heritage of being located on this historic highway. Some of the events we have planned for that are including the Locust Street Car Show. That'll be held Friday night. And Saturday, the Octagon House will be hosting their museum tours. They'll also have their historical walking tours, and they will also be having an architectural treasure hunt. So I encourage you all to come and take part in that. And then again on Sunday, we will be having vintage autos on display along the dike. And afterwards, we would like to have a dedication ceremony in honor of the new signage that maybe some of you have seen around town today. Looks something like this. In any case, we're very happy that we've been able to have those signs put up and hope to continue it on through the outskirts in the township of Hudson and on to Baldwin. We're connecting the dots between the regional towns. So with that being said, other activities will be, there's a Willow River. We'll be hosting a car show on Saturday. We're encouraging geocaching, and if you don't already know, there is a geocache hidden right at the end of Dyke Road, so you can run out and find that. Let's see. And then I'd also encourage you, if at any time, if not during the weekend, we would like to have this be a part of our heritage and encourage travelers to come throughout the year to travel the Yellowstone Trail. At this point, thank you very much, and I hope we see you down there at the ceremony.
1 o'clock, you're all invited, actually. We're going to dedicate the trail at 1 o'clock. We hope that the mayor will be able to help us with that, and all of our city council, whoever might be able to attend. It will be really a great event. So just a short time in your day on Sunday, so we encourage you to come along as well. So thank you very much.
Thank you both for coming. Anyone else have a comment or suggestion tonight? Okay, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Would you read those items, please?
Approve the public hearing and regular meeting minutes of April 19th, 2010, and the organizational meeting minutes of April 20th, 2010. To approve extinguishing the drainage and utility easements between Lot 5, the Lighthouse at Hudson Pier, and Lot 91, the Lighthouse at Hudson Pier, Second Edition, except for 10 feet abutting the front property lines, Coach Light Drive, and 20 feet abutting the rear property line of Lot 91, and 10 feet abutting the rear property line of Lot 5, with the following conditions. The owner provides to the Community Development Director a grading plan for the two lots. The owner gets approval from the private utility companies to extinguish the easements. To approve claims for payment in the amount of $346,666.78. A detailed description is available in the clerk's office on request and on the city's website. To approve the issuance of a special event permit to the Hudson Boosters for the annual Booster Days event at Lakefront Park, June 26, 2010 through July 7, 2010, with a reduction in the required insurance amount from $3 million to $1 million, and with approval as a community event. To approve the amusement device license for Vanda J. McGee and amusement device permits for 12 machines located at Dibbo's, 517 2nd Street. To approve amending the current liquor license for Shanghai Bistro to include serving on an outside patio area through June 30th, 2010. To place on file the quarterly report of the library director, the semi-annual report of the community development director, and the unapproved community access board minutes of April 27th. That is all.
All right, there's a motion to approve the consent agenda. Is there a second?
Second.
Second. Roll call vote.
Morissette?
Yes.
O'Malley?
Yes.
Wyland?
Yes.
Burchell?
Yes.
Yaku?
Yes.
All right, the consent agenda is approved, and we'll move on to item number 2 under the Plan Commission, which is to consider amendment to the City of Hudson Comprehensive Plan and maps on pages 25, 31, and 43. This is ordinance number 7-10. Denny Darnold is here to talk about this. Denny?
Plan Commission recommendation is to approve the amendments to the City of Hudson Comprehensive Plan 2009 for Figure 2-1 2030 Master Plan and Land Use Planning District Maps. City of Hudson owner municipal building and parking lot from public to neighborhood commercial. Gaffer properties north of Cooley Road and east of 2nd Street from general commercial to downtown commercial. Tim and Betty Crusoe, 27 Cooley Road from general commercial to downtown commercial. And Beeman Farm LLC, Southeast Quadrant State Trunk Highway 35 and Hannah Road from industrial to general commercial, including their property in the city and the town of Troy. I'd be pleased to answer any questions on any of those specific recommendations.
we have first reading on this?
No,
No.
this would potentially be first reading unless you choose to suspend the rules.
I'll move to suspend the rules.
All right, there's a motion to suspend the rules towards adoption of ordinance 7-10. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a second. Any discussion? Roll call vote on the motion.
Wyland?
Yes.
Burchill?
Yes.
Yaku?
Yes.
Morset?
Yes.
O'Malley?
Yes.
All right, rules are suspended, and you can consider adopting 7-10.
Move to approve ordinance 7-10.
Second.
All right, there's a second by Yakub. Danny, can you address Chairman Knapp's comments a little bit and the concerns that he voiced about the Beaneman Farms parcel?
I have great respect for Mr. Knapp's comments. I think the city of Hudson, shown with the St. Croix Business Park Corporation development, particularly along the residential properties of Tower Road, that we've tried to be extremely careful and considerate of the nearby residential properties. We also do that with St. Croix Business Park East, and also working at Beaman Farm and their property. In regards to the traffic on old Highway 35, certainly development of the parcels in State Trunk Highway 35 or the Beaman Farm will add traffic to this area. I think my only major disagreement with Mr. Knapp is that Town of Troy had an opportunity to create a diamond intersection at theirs and allow traffic to access and egress and access, and chose not to. So it'll be an overpass, and the traffic will be pushed up to this area. So they'll also be generating additional traffic from their decisions not to create a diamond intersection at that point.
All right. Now, as we went through our process, we had a bit of a division in this parcel. We tried to get some uniformity there, and we originally were making it all industrial.
Correct.
The entire parcel, which was...
It's consistency of industrial as far as the east side of State Trunk Highway 35, or consistency between the Beaneman Farm and the property owners of the east and west side. So you're looking at consistency in two different directions. That was really the only issue that really seemed to be debated at the time we considered the adoption of the comprehensive plan. So the consideration was for the Plan Commission to go back, reevaluate it. They did do that, and their recommendation came back to go with the general commercial classification.
All right. Anybody on the council? Anything further? Ray, it's your chance. Nothing? Got it. Ready to vote? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no.
Again, this is just amendments to the comprehensive plan. It's not the rezoning consideration.
Okay, so that was ordinance 7-10. Item number 2 under the Plan Commission is finished. We're moving on to item number 3, which is consider rezoning the property at 911 4th Street. This is ordinance number 8-10. Oh, I'm sorry. Suggestion that we swap 4 and 3, so let's take up 4 first. This one is to consider amending Chapter 255-14K regarding office district and 255-24 permitted uses. This is ordinance number 9-10.
Plan Commission recommends approval of the recommendations of the City Attorney and Community Development Director to amend the zoning code section 255-14K office district and 255-24 permitted uses, and the attached chart, and the attached chart which is in the zoning code, not attached to the ordinance, to allow cafe and restaurants and retail shopping for up to 15% of the total floor space of the building. No drive-through facilities allowed, with criteria and conditions approved for review by the Planning Commission and Common Council. This provision came out of some consideration by the Common Council for the potential sale of 911 4th Street. My comment at the time, if if the addition of retail sales and a small cafe should be limited on a square footage basis, but also made generic to all office district areas throughout the city. So, any other office district that's existing could have the same options of having limited restaurant, cafe, or limited retail. So that's a generation of this particular ordinance.
Move to suspend the rules.
There's a motion to suspend the rules towards adoption of 9-10. Is there a second?
Second.
And there's a second. Any discussion on the motion? Roll call vote.
Yakub,
Yes.
Burchell,
Yes.
Wyland,
Yes.
O'Malley,
Yes.
Morset.
Yes.
All right, so the rules are suspended, and you can consider adopting 9-10.
So moved.
Second.
And there's a motion, O'Malley, and second, Wyland. Discussion?
This is simply rezoning to reflect the actual use the building has had for the last 3 decades.
This
Right.
one is, we're on 9 now. This one is changing all
I'm
office.
sorry, yes, I'm sorry, this is for all of them.
The,
This one's a little different.
my question was, I know there's a couple other in the city that are zoned office. Can you
Correct.
enumerate which ones they are?
Well, there's 3 of them on Cooley Road, west of Hagan Street, on the radius as you go up Cooley Road past Burkmost Park, and then you're going. There's 3 locations there. There's also one next to the YMCA. Those are the 3 that I recollect at this moment.
And
All
it
right.
would be on issuance of a conditional use permit.
Correct.
So
Yeah, I mean,
the council would use.
We'd still get a chance at it, yeah.
Well, there's often been talk of another private sports club here in Hudson, and if it wished to sell professional equipment or gym equipment inside the premises, this would fit perfectly for them.
Any other discussion? Randy?
No.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Ordinance is adopted. Vote of 5-0. Now we'll go back to number 3. Consider rezoning the property at 911 4th Street, ordinance number 8-10.
Move to suspend the rules.
There's a motion to suspend the rules. Is there a second? Second by Yakub. Any discussion? Roll call vote. Was there discussion?
Well, the Plan Commission recommendation is for the rezoning approval.
All right. Sorry to cut you off.
No, I just want to jump in there while I had 2 seconds, so.
We're just voting on suspension of the rules right now.
We'll give you more time, Danny. All right.
Which one?
Roll call vote on the motion.
Morset,
Yes.
O'Malley,
Yes.
Wyland,
Yes.
Burchell,
Yes.
Yakub.
Yes.
All right, motion is adopted. Now we can consider approving the rezoning in ordinance 8-10.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Danny?
Well,
anything
essentially,
else?
this would rezone the property from R1. In the past, all the governmental properties are zoned basically in R1 districts, except for City Hall, I believe. This would move it into an office district. Again, now there would be the possibility of having very limited commercial sales and also food service.
Okay, anyone else?
As someone said recently, this would only reflect the use the building has had for the last 3 decades.
Who's that?
And despite our hearing today and this being on multiple agendas for discussion, I have yet to really hear negative comments at all. So I feel pretty comfortable that there's not a public opposition to it. All right, let's vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. And ordinance 8-10 is adopted. Now we'll go to number 5, which is to consider amending chapter 255 to rezone properties. And this is ordinance 10-10, and it concerns the rezoning of the Gaffer property and the Caruso parcels that we talked about earlier.
And this would provide for consistency between the master plan and the zoning ordinance or zoning map. Plan Commission recommends that the Gaffer property be rezoned from R1 one-family residential district and R2 two-family residential district to B3 central business district, and the Caruso property to be rezoned from R2 two-family residential district to B3 central business district. The central business district is consistent with property right across the street where Casanova Liquor and the Nova is currently located.
Move to suspend the rules.
There's a motion to suspend the rules. Is there a second? Second. Second by Randy. Discussion? Roll call vote?
Morset?
Yes.
O'Malley?
Yes.
Wyland?
Yes.
Burchell?
Yes.
Yaku? Yes.
All right, the rules are suspended.
Move.
And I heard Randy say move to approve. He's-
Are you making a motion, sir?
Perfect.
I'm just fine.
I move to approve.
Second it, Mary, second it.
10-10.
I'll second that.
Second by Mary Yaku, representing District 2. All right, then there's discussion on this one. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. And ordinance 10-10 is adopted. Where does that leave us, Denny? Does that take care of all of it?
The other consideration that I would have discussions tonight would be on the lieu of parking ordinance, which is, I think, under unfinished business.
Would the council be amenable to the idea of accelerating that item on our agenda to allow Mr. Darnold to be finished earlier?
Hey, wait a minute. Yes, we're fine.
That's under unfinished business. Item A, consider amendments to the zoning code, section 255-48 and 235-36 to establish a payment in lieu of required off-street parking in B3 Central Business District. This is ordinance 6-10.
Catherine, we've discussed this. Does that count, do we count as having had a first reading yet or not?
We did have.
We did move
Yeah.
the first reading last
So,
time.
move for approval of ordinance 6-10.
Yeah, there's a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Let's point out some changes that we've made, some of which are not of substance, some of which I think after legal review and further staff review since committee that I concur with, and Denny and Catherine have worked on it. So who's going to tell about those changes? Kathy? Denny?
Well, I think the one change that I want to discuss is, there are actually two, excuse me. One is the fee amount, which if you take the 2-fee option is 11,400, or the larger or smaller parking lot, 1 to 5 stalls, and $10,900 for the one or the larger parking lot, 6 or more. The other option, the other option that I suggested is possibly just going to one fee amount, because I believe if the city really develops off-street parking downtown, you're going to have 6 or more stalls. The opportunity really to go with the smaller areas is likely to be to try to work with existing private parking to maybe lease some of that area. So my recommendation is actually to go with the second option with the 1 fee amount. Catherine cleaned up some of the language as far as the funds, the difference between the lieu of parking fund and the general maintenance fund in the parking utility, and I'll let her comment in regards to that.
Yeah, I just clarified it, I think, in the ordinance, that any fees paid through this procedure in lieu of parking will go into a parking improvement fund under that municipal parking utility section in 235. And it's this, with some just minor changes, it's the same types of uses that were in the first ordinance. It's just in a different spot, and it's a little clearer that there are 2 separate funds within that utility. And so that says what you can use those funds for: property acquisition, demolition. It's basically capital costs to acquire or improve parking facilities.
Catherine, given Denny's comments just a moment ago, I would like to amend my motion to approve this ordinance 6-10 with the provision that we strike paragraph D, subparagraphs A and B, and paragraph E, fee schedule reflect only $10,900 as the single fee. I believe that Denny is correct.
I think our recommendation is 11.2, but if you want to make it 10, sorry.
Okay, I compromise.
$11,250.
That wasn't written
Yeah,
here.
I'm sorry.
11,200, because I believe that would get us out of legal entanglements in the future as to, is it 6 stalls, is it 7 stalls, is it 5 stalls? It's $11,200 a stall.
So essentially, you'd be adopting the ordinance with this alternate for
Yes.
D and E on
Yes.
pages 2 and
If that's okay with the seconder.
Yes.
I think I said that.
And just to kind of put us all on the same page, it would cost exactly the same amount to build a stall anywhere in the city, whether it's downtown or up behind Menards or any place.
No.
It's only the
This
B3
only
district.
applies to the central business district.
My point is that we're not creating for downtown, we're not creating a fee higher than any other place in the city to build a parking lot.
Well, you have to understand, any parking lot's going to be dependent on the conditions of that individual site. At this time, we don't have specific sites that we can specifically say, we're estimating what it's going to cost. So we're starting with an initial fee. What the Common Council may want to consider in the future is, if they would choose to do a detailed study of parking downtown and have very specific sites that they would want to potentially purchase or develop for parking, then we would do an analysis of those specific areas, and this fee may change at that point in time. But to say that parking costs $11,250 up on the hill versus downtown, no, you cannot specifically say that, because all parking areas would be specific to the individual individual conditions of those specific sites.
I just don't want to discourage work downtown if a business is deciding to build downtown or build uptown, that the difference in parking costs isn't going to significantly sway their decision. That's my point, is that, in fairness.
Well, built into the cost is the price of the land.
Right.
And land's more expensive downtown than it is up on the hill. So that makes for a different cost for a parking lot.
Let me interject two points, Lee, to exactly what you're saying. One is, this is an optional alternative to simply building the parking spots that are currently required. So there's no new requirement here. It's a potentially lower cost alternative to someone who wanted to redevelop property downtown and currently would be required to provide off-street parking. That's the first point, is no one's getting taxed or feed here that doesn't want to, because you don't have to if you don't want to. I see two places where this will really benefit the development of downtown. One is when topography means that to do those parking stalls, you end up having to either excavate extensively to get it level or retaining walls, and you can see where we have places where, yeah, you could build a parking lot there if you absolutely had to in order to build, redo your building, but it's not going to be very economically feasible if instead you could simply put into a fund what it costs to build parking down the street somewhere on a flat and level lot.
I totally agree.
And the second is the example we already saw on the corner of Walnut, Locust and Second,
Yep.
where, frankly, you can maximize the highest and best use of the lot by building more building there. And it may be very much to the benefit of everybody involved if they kick in for 4 or 5 stalls to be built somewhere else in downtown and instead build more building there, which is, I think, quite possible, and it might make it more economically viable for us to get some redevelopment going on downtown. I look at this as an economic development thing. It shouldn't be viewed as an onerous new tax. It's not. It's a way out of parking requirement that everybody agrees we need more parking.
I just wanted to the reason I wanted to bring it up is that people who are considering developing downtown will recognize that, oh, well, it's not costing me more because I would have had to spend that money anyhow in a different way. So I don't want this looked at as a fee for building, but seen differently. That's why I brought it up.
Yeah, good point. Where are we at here? We had a motion to adopt, and it was amended a little bit. Can we be clear which of the drafts? We've got draft 428, 4 p.m., draft 429, 11:30 a.m. I think it would be the 429, 11:30 a.m. plus the alternative added that has D and E for fee schedule.
Yeah, to replace the DNE.
To replace the D and E in the draft 429, 11:30 a.m. Is that where we're
Yeah.
at? Okay. Any more discussion on this? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. All right, the ordinance is adopted. Number 6-10 is adopted as amended. All right, thank you, Danny. Let's go back to our agenda to the Finance Committee, and we'll take up item number 5, which is applications for fireworks paraphernalia, sales permit. Finance Committee recommended approval of all these applications.
So moved.
There's a
Second.
motion and a second to approve the fireworks permits.
With that one,
The one, oh, that's right, the
Yeah.
one we put a contingent on. Lee, how did that go?
Contingent on
For D and
safe public access,
1800 Crestview, it's approved contingent on
safe public access as reviewed by Denny Darnold.
Safe Public Act. That site is currently under construction, and so the concern is just that it's safe for the public to be using it.
I'll amend to say approve the committee recommendation.
All right. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. And those are approved with that one contingent. Number 8, which is Resolution 8-10, disallowance of claim of Nate Livermore. Finance Committee recommended approval with one small change in sub 3 of the reasons. We suggested adding after the 3 in the parentheses the word, the investigation shows that, then it would continue the claimant's own failure.
Motion to approve.
There's a motion
we need to suspend the resolution.
for a resolution. We
Oh,
would
I'm
need
sorry.
to suspend the rules or have a first reading.
Move to suspend the rules.
Second.
Motion to suspend.
Second.
And a second. Any discussion? All in, roll call vote?
Yakub,
Yes.
Burchell,
Yes.
Wyland,
Yes.
O'Malley,
Yes.
Morset.
Yes.
All right. The rules are suspended. Resolution 7-10.
8
8-10, I'm sorry. Is there a motion to approve, to adopt the resolution?
So moved.
Second.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Resolution is adopted. Number 9, consider allocations for the 2010 budget for capital outlay and discuss funding sources and preliminary discussions regarding the 2011 capital budget. Okay, we split this out. In summary, here's what's going on. We are postponing for now the decision about how much we will borrow for projects this year. A couple of things are going on. We've got 2 buildings for sale. One is in a contingency period and sale is pending. We have a sale agreement. And the other is on closed session tonight to discuss further. We will know within the next few weeks, I think, what we might anticipate for revenue, if any, coming from those. At the same time, we purchased the First Street property, and worked in the financing plan for that we would pay for it cash, with the exception of $600,000 to be borrowed in this year's long-term capital projects budget. That 600 plus about $1 million of mostly street and park improvements would have made 1.6 million of borrowing for this year. Now, if we take the 600,000, and we are not certain right now, but we may have some offsetting revenues coming in for that. The $1 million proposal included some monies for Second and Vine. Second and Vine is still under study. It's out to bid. Yet to be seen whether we're doing that project. I think there are some split opinions on the council, so we'll see what happens after the bids come in. That said, we began to get our projects budget potentially down into the point for 2010 that it is no longer very cost effective to do a note sale. And so we began to talk about either postponing that or borrowing enough for both this year and 2011, which is a past practice that's actually more cost effective. Borrowing the money through a note sale. We always call it capital bonds, but they aren't exactly bonds, they're notes, 10-year notes. Selling 10-year notes this year to be enough to accomplish this year's projects, and then setting aside in an interest-bearing investment the money for next year so as to save the sale. The decision on that has not been made, and we're not going to come forward with a recommendation on that until that's had more study and the events of the next 2 weeks go past, and we'll be back to talk about it again. However, the capital project budget should be firmed up, particularly in regards to some park improvements that are pending and on hold right now because they haven't been approved. So the Finance Committee recommended tonight the items on this new sheet that's on your table now with yellow highlighted, so this is different than what was in your packet. And the motion or the recommendation from Finance is to give approval to these items and to make changes as follows. So the restroom facility design would not be funded and would be postponed.
There is also a sheet on your table with
There's an explanatory sheet. That restroom facility, there's nothing urgent about that as it stands right now, and that can be postponed for a future year. Playground equipment zone edging, park tables and benches and grills. We're allocating $5,000 to be spent on that this year. The playground equipment zone edging, $3,200. That is a firm number. Up at Williams Park, we've installed the equipment. We're waiting for the edging to hold in the mulch. We're also waiting for the mulch because we're waiting for approval of this item. So we would be lowering from the preliminary budget amount of $5,000 down to $3,200. And in the same way, the playground additions and updates from $20,000 down to $14,700, which is
that will cover the mulch and safety zone materials for both Williams and for Prospect. This is a piece of equipment added last year at Prospect.
The water fountain addition that they had requested was $4,000, and we're recommending approval. And then the new bleachers for Burton Field at the Ball Diamonds there. The preliminary budget was for $8,000. A quote has been received for $7,000, and we're recommending that one. And then moving down, there was a trail upgrade budget request and preliminarily approved for $10,000 in Prospect Park. In addition to that, there is a water drain in the pavilion that's not functional and is currently draining into a pit, and we're recommending that $5,000 be allocated to that for a total of $15,000 for Prospect Park, and that some remaining funds from last year's Prospect Park projects, which comes to an amount of $11,374, that amount be applied towards the $15,000 before any more money is, any other sourcing is done. So that was a recommendation from the Finance Committee, and then the Public Works projects for this year we thought we would postpone until next meeting, at least next meeting.
Could I ask a question on the parks?
Yes.
Lee, I don't know, you were before me when I was on the park board. Where did these items come from? The park board itself?
Yes.
In what year?
Requested in the 2000, and there were additional items that were also requested in the 2010 budget. And preliminarily, this is what was set. There were some other items they also asked for in November, but now we have to formally approve the. So there was part of the budget documentation that the park board presented to the finance committee.
The park board and the park staff develop their budget requests. It comes to Devin and I and Betty to go over it. We made a recommendation to the finance committee. Finance committee went over it, made a recommendation to the council, and the council gave preliminary approval in the fall. But because we don't actually borrow this money until about now, we usually don't give final approval to it until now.
I'm just wondering if these items look familiar to you, Lee.
Yeah, there's stuff that we were talking about a couple years ago.
Okay.
Most of these have been a request, are either ongoing annual requests. For example, the park tables, benches, and grills have been, we do that as a long-term capital item because it's equipment, but there's an annual need for equipment in the parks because it needs replacement. All right.
These add up to about, what, 59,000? Just eyeballing it quickly, looks like about that. Minus, then we take away 11.3. That comes out of the 2009 budget for Prospect.
48 is the total.
So it's 48
minus 11. So
minus the 11.
37 about.
Okay.
So then approve this separately, move for approval?
Sure, there's a motion to approve those changes.
Second.
And a second, any discussion? In favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, no. All right, the motion passes. Any other discussion on this item?
Public Works will be coming up soon.
The Public Works items, you mean?
At our next meeting or so.
Yes, and we'd like your input on that. The discussion we're having here is, even though Second and Vine is somewhat in limbo, I think it has been the opinion of the council that we have deferred maintenance on our streets and roads, that we need some catching up to do. And so we went from a few years ago spending an annual roughly $1 million to 2 years in a row now we've spent more like $1.5 million. And this year we've essentially got it set up to spend $1 million. If we don't do Second and Vine, then the question will be, do we postpone? Do we do more mill and overlay, crack seal, and that kind of road maintenance? It's definitely time for Public Works to chime in and come with a list of priority projects and a rationale for why we need to do it. I mean, you already did that last year, and we've been through it, and we go through the Whistler?
It's called now called Whistler. It used to be called Pacer.
Yep, Whistler. All right, which is a standardized way to evaluate roads so that it's not so political, so there's a criteria, and you're looking at, why does my street get put off until another year when that one got redone? And there are definitely streets that need to be addressed.
So we need to see those bids come in on Second and Vine first before we can really discuss this.
We wouldn't have to, but I would say that of the three options that we talked about tonight, Betty put on your table a sheet. I believe it's here, Betty, correct? I've misplaced mine now in my paper shuffle, but it starts at the top with option 1 and then goes down a paragraph or 2 with option 2. And here you can see that if we don't do Second and Vine, and if we do apply, instead of borrowing the money to buy the new police and library building, if we instead just, use the proceeds from the sale of other property, if that comes to pass, we would then be under the point where it really makes sense to sell notes this year. Then we either need to downgrade our projects and internally fund them, which would be one option, postpone some things for a year, or we could think about borrowing 2 years' worth of improvement budget and invest the rest until next year.
Gamble on the interest rate.
Well,
Get any lower, maybe they can.
Well, I'm talking about higher. I heard the
Well,
conversation in finance with.
it's Betty's looking at the cost of selling notes versus the difference between what we would get, which is next to nothing right now, investing money right now in safe investments, it's next to nothing, less than 1%. So we'd be spending 2 3/4 roughly and getting 1% or less. That said, so there's an immediate $25,000 or something that would cost us. It still might be financially smarter to do that because the costs of selling those notes and doing the whole underwriting is significant. So we'll need to study that for a couple of weeks. If you have input in the general philosophy of what you think we should do there, I'm willing to hear it. I do think we could do our critical projects this year without doing a note sale at all, and we could wait and do a larger sale next year and do some reimbursement. That's possible. There are some monies left over from last year that would help make that happen. If Second and Vine doesn't happen, we could do a considerable amount of mill and overlay and sidewalk improvement and crack sealing this year without selling notes if we wanted to.
Can we see those at our next meeting?
We'll look at that next meeting.
Yeah, and that's why I say we have to really wait for those bids to come in to find out what Second and Vine's gonna cost.
What projects really do need to be done?
Right.
Because I know there are streets, St. Croix Street is terrible, all the way first and all the way up to the County A. I mean, there are some things, but I agree.
All right, any other discussion on this? Let's move on. I think we voted once on the motion. Unless anybody has any other motion to offer on that, we'll move on. Hearing none, let's go on down to Wisconsin Street Reconstruction, WisDOT STP Urban Funding Program. Chuck Schwartz is here to tell us about why it's a good idea. The Finance Committee did recommend that we fund this further study of that project to the amount of $6,000, and that the funding source be from an amount of approximately $101,000 that's remaining from last year's street projects. In doing so, this project, if we apply for this funding, which we should be able to make a very strong application, this project would now become a 2012 project instead of 2011. Chuck, can you address some of that, why you think that might be a good idea?
Yeah, that's correct. Stepping back a little bit, Public Works asked us to look at what it would take to study Wisconsin Street. And the area we're talking about is Wisconsin Street from 11th Street on up to and including the intersection of Vine Street. Okay? Now, the last time a feasibility study was done on Wisconsin Street, it was from 13th Street on up, and that was back in 1997. And very little, if any, work has been done to Wisconsin Street, even from that time on. What this surface transportation program is it's available to 6 urbanized regions in the state. Hudson happens to be one of those regions. Within the Hudson region, there's the village and the town of Hudson, as well as the county, the town of Troy, and St. Joseph. Currently, your entitlement balance is $331,000, but because some of the other entities in your region are running a negative balance, the balance for the region is $191,000. That's not to say you can't ask for and receive more than the $191 or more than the $331,000. When I originally discussed this with the DOT, I threw out an example of $600,000 project. I don't want to mislead you as far as the cost of this project. This cost of this project, what you're contemplating here, is much higher than $600,000. And I say that namely because all I did was inflate the $97 to $2010. Now we're looking at 2012. In addition, that study didn't include 11th to 13th as well. And then if you look at, one of the things in the study that Public Works wanted to look at too is the feasibility or the practicality of a roundabout or that interchange up at Vine and Wisconsin Street. So if you look at, so you're really talking about it, if it was all encompassing, this is, a $1.3 million project or something along those lines. Not to say that those intersection improvements up at Second and Vine could be delayed or not part of the scope of your application. That's something that once you've figured out the numbers in the study, that some of those decisions can come out of that, and what you actually want to put into your application. Now, this so the schedule of this, it's a little bit of a hurry up and wait. Right now, what we'd want to do is get this study into your hands by your first meeting in June. Okay, that allows you to react to it, modify it, and make some decisions on the actual application to the DOT. That application needs to be to the highway commissioner by the end of the month. Okay, then he packages up any other applications from the region. He doesn't anticipate any, but if there are any, then he packages that up and he forwards it on to the DOT. Bottom line is we would expect to hear some sort of decision in October on that, and then in 2011, essentially, you would go into the design mode and do the design of the project and go through the review process of the Department of Transportation. This is 80% potential funding with a 20% local match. There are some additional costs, though, just because it's, because of these federal funds that are tied to it. Case in point, they want you to budget $40,000 to $50,000 for the DOT's review of these plans. So, not only would you have the cost of our design, you would also have their review costs as well built into this.
Chuck, I got a question.
Mm-hmm.
So you said this is federal money. Is this part of the stimulus plan and the stimulus money from the federal government?
No, it is not. I believe these are just tax dollars coming back to you.
Okay.
We were actually originally hoping that this solicitation for the STIP program was supposed to happen last fall, but they were so busy with their ARA projects that it was delayed until the end of March.
I think one of the unique things about this road, as far as I understand it, was it was a county road. When it was brought into the city, as a council, we didn't have enough money to do curb and gutter and a bunch of other stuff, so basically they laid tar over the top of it, and it's been falling apart since. At least that was the story from people who've lived in there a long time. So as we're looking at, any way that we can defray the cost of redoing this and bringing it up to city standards, I think would be definitely anything we can do there to help all parties involved.
What Public Works Committee is requesting is a maximum of $6,000 to do the study that Chuck just illustrated. And so I will make that a motion.
Second.
To allocate that
All
money.
right, there's a motion and a second to approve the recommendation from the Finance Committee. Actually, I guess it originally came from the Public Works Committee, that the council proceed with the feasibility report and application and that we funded in the amount of $6,000 to come from last year's residual street funds. Any discussion? This is a tricky road.
We've been talking about it forever.
We've talked about it forever. Well, I was here when we did it the last time, and we ended up coming up with no one's favorite solution of mill and overlay it. And it actually held up pretty well for 12 years, considering, and now it's not anymore. I mean, it was a Band-Aid solution. It's difficult. We have a policy that curb and gutter is special assessed when it goes in. I want you all to be aware of that. And as soon as you stop holding to that policy, it's going to be a slippery slope. So somebody's going to be special assessed along there. That much we're pretty clear of, are we? Mm-hmm. Eddie? We're pretty clear. The question to be decided is who's getting special assessed. There's two ways to do it. You can do your typical thing, which is whoever owns the property along the road, or when that doesn't seem to be fair, you can do an area-wide trip generation formula for where is the traffic coming from, and then those people pay. You start doing that, you're going to be out a block. The people that I hear complain about that road are usually people who don't live right next to it but drive by it going back and forth. Those people expect it to be fixed with general tax revenues just like every other road. And so it's tricky because it's a substantially expensive project here, and whoever does get assessed is going to see a significant special assessment.
And when you look at those, who lives along there, you've got just a couple of properties that bear the entire burden of the street.
And when we looked at this before and stared into their eyes, I'll tell you, it's a tough thing to do that, so you think about it. And that's why we've come up with this plan of looking for other funding. I was very interested to see that we are one of 16 biggest urban areas in Wisconsin. That was interesting. I was also interested to see that we have not tapped into this money, and it accumulates year after year, while all our neighbors within our little urban district have tapped it to the point that they're overdrawn.
Yeah.
I find that fascinating.
They beat us to it, is
They
what you
beat
want to
us to
say.
the money, but I mean, if we come in with a good project like this, I should think we should be in first place to actually utilize some of that money. As to the roundabout, again, that needs some study. Traffic will drive whether there's a need for that. Again, there would be a special assessment likely. If we've got a current road and the current road isn't up to the task, there's special assessment, and again, you would look at where the traffic is coming from, and if the traffic is coming from and going to the school, then the school board is going to need to be on board with that, and we're going to need to do some long-range planning with them whether there's going to continue to be that kind of traffic there, because I would really hate to see us spend that kind of money on a roundabout. I need some convincing.
Can I ask what a purpose of a roundabout would be in that spot?
It's a high-traffic, high-accident area. Students going to school, frankly, on their cell phones, while they're driving. A lot of times.
The speed limit isn't more than 25 miles per hour over there.
No, it's 25.
Yeah.
But there's a stop sign.
It keeps traffic moving, and a
Right,
stop
I
sign.
understand the roundabout concept. Obviously I live next
we
to
want
it,
to
but
reduce accidents.
That's on a faster road versus.
Well, it's fast enough to have a lot of accidents at that intersection. We want to reduce the accidents.
And I think Chuck pointed out one time, he said the kinds of accidents when they're beam accidents are much more dangerous than glancing accidents, where a roundabout creates a different kind, a safer kind of accident, if you will.
Well, when there are, it reduces the accidents totally.
Yes.
Well, I think it handles, and again, it needs to be studied and looked at. I'm not saying that's the answer, but it should be studied. And one of the things intuitively that I see there is when you get those peaks in the morning and in the afternoon when school's out, keeping the traffic flowing helps during those peak peak times.
Would that get put into the same study for $6,000?
Yeah.
Roundabout look too. Okay.
Yeah.
I think that roundabouts in general require more land footprint than what often is allocated to them, and it makes them not function as well as they would. I mean, the best functioning roundabouts are big. And there's this tendency to want to shoehorn it in, sometimes on purpose because they want, quote, traffic calming, unquote. In other words, you've got to go terribly slowly through there because it's the only way. But those that we have out on Hanley, trucks need space, and I would think the same thing would happen here. We've got school buses and cars in there at the same time, and if it's not enough space there, it's not going to function properly. I want that to be very carefully studied and decide whether there's enough room or how you would get enough room to do it. Who's going to give up their precious parking lot, of which they don't have enough right now, in order to put a roundabout and have to pay for it because they happen to live on that corner? I think that's a difficult thing. You better be studying that hard, Chuck.
I think the additional to your point, that's our major artery for emergency vehicles. Mm-hmm. So you got the big ladder trucks and things coming through there too.
Yeah. Okay. We got a motion, second, discussion has happened. Anybody have anything else?
favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion passed. Let's see, we're moving on to Cooley Road Mill and Overlay Project. Chuck, that yours too?
Yeah, I'll take it. On Wednesday, Public Works will be reviewing the structures and seeing if there's any repairs that need to be made. And then we're still on track for mid to late April to do the milling and the overlaying.
May.
Or, excuse me, May.
I wish it was April. I do have a question, but I don't know if I can ask it about the 11th Street real quick, and the cover, and the manhole covers. I
Sure.
don't know if we're able to talk about it.
I think it was in the report, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, part of the update.
Yep.
From Greeley, and I'm talking going southbound from Summer to Green, actually, you would be going northbound. Those manhole covers weren't fixed the way they were fixed in the intersection of Summer and 11th Street. I'd like to see those done that way.
There's two,
Just outside that apartment parking lot.
yeah, right next to, near Cooley. There's,
Down that way, yeah.
yeah, there's actually, the way that works is that'll be repaired by Monarch when they come in to do Cooley.
They are.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions for Chuck? All right. I think you're done for the night too then. All right, old business. Vacation of a portion of Pearson Drive, Resolution 9-10.
Catherine, I have a
Danny?
question. Oh, I'm
Hold
sorry.
on here a second.
Sorry.
The item, did you have a question before?
Well,
we
because
go
we,
on?
we have brought this up before under a different resolution number in another year. Does this constitute a first reading again?
No, I think we had the first reading.
We had public hearings and we had
Yeah.
a review and, well, if I can make a comment, basically this is a housekeeping item. Went through Plan Commission, went through Common Council, went through public hearings, kind of got tied up a little bit with the attorneys, bounced back and forth, kind of got put on the back burner. Everybody's satisfied now, all the considerations are in place, so we're recommending approval of the resolution, get this taken care of.
All right. And, you know, the numbering is really immaterial, I think, right? Numbering doesn't matter.
Yeah, because it's just, the number just shows when it was, the year and the resolution number.
Yeah, a year and a half ago is when this was
Yeah,
brought
I
up.
would, I don't know for a fact that we had first reading. I didn't double check that, so I suggest you just suspend the rules
Well,
and.
it
Okay.
says right here, we had it.
Oh,
November
does
10th.
it? Okay.
Well, no, it says that we had
We
a
had the
discussion and a
hearings,
public
and we had the
hearing.
postings. I don't know.
Had first reading.
Yeah, of that resolution, a
Because
year and
it's
a half
over.
ago. Does that still hold was my question.
Oh, yeah, I think it
It's a year and a
would.
half old, so,
Yeah.
but to be
Yeah.
safe, I will move we suspend the rules.
You confident we had first hearing?
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh,
all right,
okay.
we
I
had
didn't
first
see
hearing.
that in here.
Well, then
Right,
do you
yeah.
not need us
I
to?
don't worry about the numbering. It's the substance
I
of the
don't-
resolution.
I don't
Or the
disagree.
age.
Yeah, I don't
That's what I'm
disagree
worried
with
about.
Alderman O'Malley that suspend the rules and take care of it that way.
Yeah, let's just,
All right.
I'll stay with my motion.
You have the floor. Did you move to suspend the rules?
Yes, I did.
Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second to suspend the rules towards adoption of Resolution 9-10. Any discussion? Roll call vote.
Morset?
Yes.
O'Malley?
Yes.
Wyland?
Yes.
Burchill?
Yes.
Yakub?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Move to approve Resolution 9-10.
Motion to approve 9-10. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Burchill. Discussion?
Danny, as this moves on to other parcels, are there there was some discussion about discontinuing some things farther down the road. Is this going to drive some other discussions or not?
No, this takes care of it.
Okay, thank you.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Resolution's adopted.
New business number A, we're going to skip that because we're going to go into closed session to discuss that or a related item. Let's see, that takes us down to communications and recommendations from the mayor. I've got two. One is a proclamation for Letter Carriers Food Drive Day. Whereas the food shelves in most communities are at their lowest levels during summer months, and whereas National Association of Letter Carriers Food Drive is the largest one-day collection of food in the nation, and whereas the Hudson Post Office Letter Carriers, with the cooperation of the local United Way, America's Second Harvest, AFL-CIO, and the Campbell Soup Company, will be seeking food donations from the public in an effort to help feed many families in need. Now, therefore, I do hereby proclaim Saturday, May 8th, 2010 as Letter Carriers Food Drive Day in the city of Hudson and urge the citizens to recognize and support the merits of this cause by contributing generously to this worthwhile and effective project. And the second is I'd like to make an appointment of a chairman to the Ad Hoc Deer Management Committee. And my thinking here is that we can add more to it. The committee can meet over the course of the next few months. The hunt won't start until the fall. And so another citizen member, former Mayor Tom Redner, has agreed to come on that board, to serve on there, and to be the chair of that ad hoc committee. With that, anything from any communications and items for future agendas from any other person? Mary? Randy? Anyone over here?
Yes, I'd like to remind everyone in the area that the Hudson Area Joint Library is closing its doors just before Memorial Day on May 28th at the Municipal Building at 911 4th Street, prior to opening up at the new library down on 1st Street. So May 28th is the last day of operation for our public library. And just prior to that, the Friends of the Library will hold the last ever book sale. Come get them, they're hot. Starting Thursday, May 19th at 11 o'clock in the morning and ending up that following Saturday at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, May 22nd. That is just the week before the library closes for good at 911 4th Street.
Nope.
Nothing?
And then opens.
Did you have anything, Lise?
No.
City attorney? City administrator?
I'm good.
Well, it might be worth pointing out that the police department has already moved in and are no longer located on the first floor of City Hall here and are now over at their new location and are still getting moved in, but it's working out well so far. Okay. With that, I think we've completed our agenda and we would be ready to go into closed session pursuant to Section 1985, Sub 1, Sub E of Wisconsin statutes to deliberate regarding negotiations for possible lease proposals or sale of public property at 701 2nd Street.
So
there's a motion by
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Weiland, second O'Malley. Any discussion? Roll call vote.
Morset?
Yes.
O'Malley?
Yes.
Wyland?
Yes.
Birchall?
Yes.
Yakub?
Yes.
All right, motion passed 5-0, and we'll go into closed session. Let's take about a 5-minute break. And return. Thanks for